Places we played in Cahir when I was growing up, you wouldn't let your children play there now.
Yes, no.
What was school like for you, Anne, when you were young?
Well, as far as I remember, it was okay. It was the old convent school down near where the church is now. There was an old building there, and there were 8 classrooms in it. The boys went there for the first 2 years, and they made their first communion at the end of senior infants. And then there was a big parade. All the boys lined up, and they got a new copy and a new pencil. And they all lined up, and they marched through the town up to the boys' school. Do you know where the boys' school is? The old boys' school. Down the, yeah, that's where they used to go. And that was a big thing every year, the boys all walking off. And, it was nearly all nuns who were teaching in the convent school. There were only 2 lay teachers. There was a Mrs. Moore and a Miss Ryan. The Ryans from Old Church Street. They were the only 2 lay teachers. Really can't remember too. Like, it was okay. Like, I mean, I had a fairly clean sail through it. I didn't get into very much trouble. I got a slap once, and I think it was the only slap I got in my entire. And I got it for putting an English P in my Irish copy. It was a penmanship thing, you know, the red and blue line copies. I put an English P, which was this sort of a thing, in my Irish copy where I should have done it.
What had you for lunch in school?
There was an hour given for lunch every day. I think it suited the nuns to go up to the convent and have their lunch and whatever prayers they used to have after that. And we had from 12:30 until 1:30. Now, most of the girls who came from the town could go home for lunch, and you'd get whatever there was going at home, like depending on the time of the year, there might be a bowl of soup or there might be scrambled egg and toast or something. And the girls who were from the country, who lived 2 or 3 miles outside the town, they would have their lunch in the school playground. There was a shed and a big bucket of, it was a cross between hot chocolate and cocoa. I know it smelt absolutely gorgeous when you weren't getting any of it. But the nuns used to send down this big bucket of hot chocolate every day, and somebody used to dish it out to the girls. They all had to bring their own mug, and they had to, you know, keep it in their bag, bring it home afterwards, wash it at home, and if you didn't have a mug, you didn't get any hot drink. And I think there was bread and jam, basically, with that. Provides it now.
What type of games did you play when you were young?
What type of games? In school or out in school? Hopscotch and all those kind of things were very, very popular, and because there was so little traffic going through the town, we could actually draw a hopscotch on Castle Street, out on the road, and it could be there for weeks if it didn't rain too hard. It was hopscotch, and there was some other hoppy game, I can't remember what it was called, skipping. Now, we also played a lot of what I call devilment games. We used to go to a place called the sewerage. I don't know if you know what the sewerage is.
Okay.
It's where all the waste pipes from all the houses in Cahir used to all come together, and God knows what used to be there, filthy. And we used to lift up levers, and all the stuff would go down a hole, and then we were lifted up levers and played with it. It was a sewage treatment plant, but like every child in the town played in it. And there was one boy who was a friend of my brother's, and he had a £0.50 one day, which is a lot of money for a child to have. And somebody threw it down this very deep shaft and said to him, "Get it." And he went down for it. There were little metal steps into the sides of the wall, and when he was down at the bottom, how quick can you get up? Let a bit off. But they let the whole Well, not the whole thing, but quite a lot of it out on top of him, which wasn't.
Can you remember any old cures?
Yeah, if you had a boil or any kind of an infected spot, they used to make a thing called a bread poultice. That meant mixing breadcrumbs in boiling water and draining it off a bit and then putting it on you while it was still hot. I'd say I never had it, but I know somebody who did, and it was very painful, like it was very hot. But it was good, it worked. It cleared the thing out. The other thing I could remember is chilblains. Nobody gets chilblains these days, but we used to get chilblains on our toes in the winter time. And it used to be quite sore. And one of the things we used to put on them, you would cut a potato and rub the raw edge of the potato along your chilblains and just let it dry in. Now, it seemed to work, but I don't know why. And there was another thing, if you had warts on your, you know, sometimes you get a wart on your finger, to get a snail and to rub the snail along the wart and then put the snail on a thorny bush. And the theory was that as soon as the snail had rotted away, your wart would have rotted away.
What was Christmas like for you?
Christmas was lovely because I believed in Santa until I was nearly 11. And I wrote my letters and we posted them and did all the... And like I was very disappointed when I discovered, because when I was that age, toys were scarce. The big war had just finished, and you know, you couldn't get very many toys in. So there were a lot of homemade type toys, you know, knitted dolls and things like that, rag dolls, and people who were handy with woodwork would make little dolls' houses and castles and things like that, because you couldn't get any metallic toys anywhere because all the metal had gone for making whatever in the war. So you couldn't get those, but Santa came, and like Christmas dinners and stuff were basically the same. You had your turkey and ham, and you had your Christmas pudding and trifle, and there was Christmas cake, whatever. You know, it was more or less. Mince pies weren't around then. I didn't see a mince pie until I was about 15. Don't know why. Let's see what else there was. There was a midnight mass, but it was at midnight. And the masses in the morning would start at 8 o'clock. And it could be quite dark at 8 o'clock at that time of the year, because that is the darkest time of the year. And when you're going out at about 7:45 in the morning to go to mass, it could be dark, it could be cold. Obviously there was no heating on in the church in those days. The church was completely different from what it is now as well. Like there were 2 side galleries, and it would have taken about another 200 or 300 people to what it does now. But it all got, I don't know whether it was dry rot or wet rot or something. The wood just crumbled and it had to be. That happened about 1962 or 3, I think. Right, Stephen's Day was a big day, because we didn't call it Stephen's Day, we didn't call it Boxing Day, we called it Ranboys Day. And Ranboys were people, we didn't know who they were. They used to dress up in old rags and clothes and go around the houses. They used to go around singing and playing tunes, and they used to sort of have particular Ranboy songs, and they'd be looking for a few pence, or they'd be looking for a bit of cake, or they'd be looking for something like that. And they would come from quite early in the morning, and they would have, I don't know, I think it was pig's bladders or something that they would have, and if they hit them it would make a terrible sound. It was sort of supposed to be a balloon type thing, but it was a real pig's bladder. I don't know where they got them or anything, but they used to dress up. You could be quite frightened of them as a small child, you know, if they shouted at you. But they went on for years and years, and then it all faded out. I don't think it happens anymore now. And on New Year's Eve, the Cahir brass band used to play up on the square. on the part of the square that's nearest to Cahir House, you know that bit. They used to play there from about 11:30, and then at 12 o'clock, everything would, or a few minutes to 12, everything would go completely quiet. And the first thing that would happen at midnight is up at the railway station, there would be some sort of a whistle starting to blow. And then that would be answered by a bell. Where was the bell in the mill, the old flour mill? Then the whistle and the bell would be going together, and then the big bell in the Catholic church would play, and there was something else, some other sound, I can't remember what the other one was, but they would all be going together, and then the band would play, I think it was Old Lang Syne or something like that. But people could actually, even children, could actually be out and quite safe at that hour of the night, dancing around on the square. There was no traffic or no danger or anything like that. That was lovely, like, I mean, to be able to go out and